In today's video, we are going to install a new hardware kit and a new track on this bifold door. You can see here, if I open this door, slide out, hopefully you'll see it. The unit that it slides on, one of the springs is missing here, so that's going to be replaced. And if I shake it like this, over here we can see that's worn inside too. So the track has to come off. The track itself seems to be okay, but it has to come off in order for us to put our other units inside of it. So we might as well just replace the track anyway. It was $5, and the kit itself, the bifold door hardware kit, was $13, March of 2016. Make sure you have your safety footwear on when you're working around these doors. I'm always dropping the door if I'm working on these on my foot. So the way these units come out is we basically just push up on the bottom, and you're going to want to be careful not to jam your fingers in there too. If you want, you can use a pry bar. The way I usually do it, I open up the door like so. I'm not going to use my pry bar at the moment, but it's handy to have. So these are spring loaded up top, so as we lift the bottom of the door like so, and then move it ahead, it will come out of the track on the bottom. And then I'm just going to move the bottom of it out and set the door aside. Don't drop this on your hardwood floor or anything like that, because in the bottom of the bifold door is a serrated unit that fits into this here, so you don't want to scratch your floor. To remove the track here, I run my finger along here and I see or feel I have a Phillips head screw here. Move that out of the way. Now, hopefully I can do this without blocking the camera. Running it along there, I don't feel any other screws, but I can see that it's actually hidden over here. So normally I wouldn't have to take this part off, but I'll loosen off. This is the unit that holds the top of our door in place. If I slide that over, I see my other screw that's keeping that track in place. Incidentally, usually I'll take a box cutter or a sharp knife and I'll cut along the edge here so it doesn't rip a whole lot of paint down as I do that. So my new track is a standard 3-foot wide track. Now we can see that it's just slightly too long to go in there. So I'm going to cut that track. So here on top I have my old track. I actually took the hardware out of it just so it would line up nicely with my new track. And if I go over to the other end, I can see it's that much longer. Mark my new one and we'll cut it there. And I'm just going to lay the other track for a straight edge here so I can cut it all the way around. You can use a hacksaw to cut these. I've done that. Personally, I like to use my tin snips. If you're doing that, when you're cleaning up these afterwards, be very careful of those little sharp pieces of steel on there. Always give these a little rub with a piece of sandpaper. Only problem with the tin snip method is we can see here that it bends up the end a little bit. And we need that to be straight because we've got to put our slide guide into that track before we mount it back up in the ceiling. We can see here it won't slide in there. So take a flathead, if you do it this method, take a flathead screwdriver or something. Just straighten that back out a little bit, like so, and then we should be good. This maker doesn't really matter because that slide guide, once we put it in the track, is not going to be down this far in the end anyway. So now we see that we can almost, that little tip there is holding right. I don't want to bore you too much with this as I straighten it out. If it doesn't go next time, I'll turn the camera off and just mess around with that. Let's see if our slide guide will go in there now. And there we go. The nice part about doing a repair as opposed to a like new install type of job, where we're not building a closet and installing these doors, we're just repairing them. What I like about that is somebody else has done a whole lot of measuring for us already, measured all this up and lined it up. So we're just going to put the track along the same mark as where the old one was. I actually have a video on installing a new set of bifold doors from scratch. I'll put a link into that. Theoretically, I should drill a pilot hole for these track screws, but I'm not. I also used to like to use holes that they didn't use previously. A little easier to put them in there, but I find if I put a screw in a brand new hole, it will kind of hold that track tighter. Anyway, I'm not going to make you watch me install this. I'll put these screws in and we'll get that track all secured up there. Once you have your track in place, like we do here, I have all my Phillips screws screwed in there. Move your guide along like that to make sure that it moves smoothly over the screws that you have there, that it's not hitting them. If we loosen the Phillips screw in this top pivot bracket here, we can then move it. So I'm going to back that off and then move that over roughly to where it was originally. I think it was closer to the closet door, because we remember it wasn't too far off as far as adjustment when we first started the job. I tighten that up. Here's the door jamb bracket we have to replace. Here's our new one. You notice that the screws here backed out, and there was never a screw supporting the outside portion of it here. We're going to put one in there. There's a small one included in the kit. So this moving around is potentially the reason that the door kind of wore and loosened off. The jamb bracket is in place now. I have my screw out here to keep that in place. And luckily the two screws that were included with the kit were longer than the ones that came out. So they've got a good solid hold there. Looking at the old spring pivots in the top of the door here. This one here seems to be bent. Luckily, it's just pulling out. Sometimes these, I've had them where they're kind of seized in the door and they're hard to get out. This one here doesn't really seem to be damaged. That would be, I'd almost leave that there, unless it comes out really easy, and then we'll put the new one in. I just take my flathead there. Yeah, I can see that that's going to come out easy, so we might as well replace it. Put our two new pivots from our kit in there. I'll pull that out in a second. And that's just as simple as guiding them in like this. I can't hold the camera and do it, but I might have to take a little piece of wood and just give that a light tap with my hammer. I'm not going to hit this with my hammer, but a little piece of wood there to just tap that into place. Just push them into place like that. As I say, I always like a little piece of shingle or something. It's good for this. Side to side there until you get it positioned. Make sure it's going in straight. The bottom pivot, I find, does not come out nearly as easy as those top ones. No doubt because the weight of the door is actually resting on the bottom pivot here. So what I usually do is take note of roughly how far out that is. You can count the threads or whatever. And then I'll take I won't bother to try to get this out of there, to pry that out. I'll just remove the screw part of that pivot and put the new screw in there. Here's what I'm talking about here. I counted 5 threads visible on that bottom pivot, and I've taken my new pivot out, and I'm just going to basically screw this in until I see 5 threads visible, because we know that the door was adjusted fairly close to correctly before. So I went to install the door, because that's what we're ready to do here now, right at this moment. And if you recall correctly, I had positioned this approximately before, and when I went to do it, I couldn't get that door, the pivot at the top of the door, in close enough to the door casing here to fit in that hole. So what I'm going to do now is take a rough measurement there. That pivot is about 1.25 inches away from this edge of the door. So I'm going to move the hole in our pivot bracket about 1.25 inches away. I'm going to move it a little farther than it is. I have moved our pivot bracket a little farther away from the edge of the door casing on the right there. You can see my tape measure. Notice that the hole for the pivot to go into is now, the center of that hole is about 1.5 inches, a little bit more than 1.5 inches away from the door casing there. This is the point where you want to be careful so you don't jam your fingers or drop this door on your foot. So we're going to move this into place. I like to move the top of the door in and the bottom of the door out. I'm going to put that top pivot there. It went into the mounting bracket up above. Now I have it resting on my safety boot there. And I'm going to go to the bottom of the door. Hopefully this will come out. I'm pushing the door up into that to keep it in the bracket. And the bottom of the door, I just set into place there. So, once we do that, open up our door a bit here, like so, and we're going to see how this lines up for us. Now that we've got it in there, you just hit your top pivot there, position your slider, push that down with your finger until you see the middle of the 2 springs, pop that into place. So now this should close. Okay, so now we can see it's not quite closing, and if you can, hopefully this is coming up the camera, over here we can see the space here, but right around here it's hitting the door casing. So the door is going to go over this way. So again, I'm going to lift the bottom and adjust that over a little bit, drop it back into place on the bottom. Now we see it closes. And I think we've actually kind of hit proper. If I run my finger down there, it's about the same distance along that way, and over here that seems to open good, slide good. We can adjust it up, obviously easy enough. Next thing we want to do is change that handle. I have popped the top pivot out of the slider just to show here how easy this is to change the handle out. Here's our new handle and the screw. Basically, all you do here, Phillips head screw in this case, loosen that off. I'm obviously going to have to hold the handle on this side, and you can see that turning off there. Hopefully. Take our new washer, and screw, pop it through there, jiggle it around until Pops out the other side. Like so. Take your new handle, hold the screw on the other side, twist it on, and I'm going to have to hold it from here and use my screwdriver on the back. Got our new handle on there, it's nice and secure. Just push that pivot bolt in there from the top, and away you go. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching.